Okay, so today we're going to wrap up the lesson we did yesterday about standard deviation or spread. Good job. All right, so yesterday we talked about, first of all, we talked about shape. We looked at our different shapes. And we talked about soda machines. Then we talked about, this is what we're going to talk about more tomorrow. We're going to look at specific IQ examples. I was going to push that today, but I don't think it's necessary. I really want to just get to that last example. Oh, we talked about spread. We talked about how this example right here has no spread because all the data is right next to the mean. That's why it says a spread of 0. And over here, it has a spread of 1.2 with a mean of 5. So we know our data is spread out by 1.2 units. And then here we have a wider spread, same mean, but a wider spread of 3. So that's what we did yesterday. I did a few more examples, but I really want to get here to this last one that we did. Okay. So like I said, I should have never shown you this formula. I regret it, because all it did was intimidate you. Correct? Okay. This is what I should have done. I should have talked about the formula after showing it to you. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and we're just going to do this one right here. Let me go ahead and take a picture of that. All right, so I've decided that the only thing you're going to have to do on the test is you're going to have to be able to set this up. You're not going to have to calculate it, you're just going to have to set it up. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like right now. This is going to bug me. All right, so let's start by looking at the mean. So in order to find the mean, I take each one of my data sets. So this happens to be scores on the homework assessment, right? So if somebody got a 1, I would add the 1 with the 2, with the 3, and with the 4. So they're each one of my data sets, and I would divide by 4, and that finds my average or my mean of 2.5. Next, I'm going to find my standard deviation. So in order to find my standard deviation, I'm going to begin with just comparing each data set to the mean. We're going to see how spread out it is, away from the mean. So I'm going to start with number 1. So the first one happens to be, how far away is it from the mean? I want to know how far 1 is away from 2.5. Okay? I'm not even going to put that. I'm just going to say how far is 1 from 2.5. Whenever we're trying to find distance, we use subtraction, right? You want to find out how far your sister is from you and you're 15 and she's 17? You subtract. They're 2 away. So I've got 1 minus 2.5. The way I deal with that negative, I'm not even going to do that yet. So I have 1 minus 2.5. What's the spread of that? Then I have 2 minus 2.5. How far away is 2 from the mean? Then how far away is 3 from the mean? Then how far away is 4 from the mean? The way I would write that with the formula is like this. How far away is my value, right? Whichever value I want. The first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, whatever. How far is my value away from my mean, or x bar? Okay? Are you with me so far? Now to deal with the fact that sometimes we're going to have negatives and sometimes we're going to have positives, we want to square each one of these to make sure that we get a positive number. So I'm going to square each one of them. Next, I want to, what? What do we do when we average something? Well, before I divide, what do I need to do with each one of these? I need to add them all together, right? I need to add all of them together. This is what that means that scary letter that just tripped everybody out, this means take the sum of all of them. That's all it means. Sum them up. That's all it is. Sum means add them all up. So I have each one of my values. I'm going to see how far it is away from the mean. I'm going to square it, and then I'm going to sum them up. Then what's the next part after you sum with an average? Divide. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide. Now, with statistics and talking about a sample, a population we would just divide by 4. But for some reason, with a sample, we try and do it less 1. So we're going to do 4 minus 1. So however many I have, I'm going to divide that by the number I have, but I'm going to decrease it by 1. So the number I have decreased by 1. And finally, I squared each one of those in the beginning, each one of those differences. So in order to undo all of those squares, I'm going to take the square root. Now, doesn't that make a lot more sense than yesterday? That's where the formula comes from. So on the test, you should be able to set this up like this. And I'll do it with something that's got fairly little amount of values. That way you don't have a big old long, but you should be able to do this. Now what we're going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate what this looks like in a calculator. I'm going to show you, and then you can do it right alongside me if you want to, Amadeus. Okay? And the beauty of this is if you know how to set it up, you can put it in your calculator, you can finish your test, and then go back and use the calculation to check to make sure your calculator was right. Because the error that we can be doing is ourselves, not the calculator. Okay? All right, again, the beauty of this is I can kind of do some of this math in my head and see if I'm kind of in the ballpark with my calculator. Right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you now how to put this in a calculator. All right, so image mate. I don't want the whole thing because I still want to, we know our values are 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Those are our different scores. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my calculator on. I'm going to clear it. I'm going to clear out any data I have stored in here. That's the only thing I want to be able to, like, put, let's do this. I want to, at the same time, I want to do the steps. So let me go ahead and write the steps up first, and we're going to follow the steps. I've got the steps on the board, but I want to put them in the presentation. So the first step is going to be what stat mode? In order to know what stat mode, we're going to hit the button second, and then data. The second thing, and then what we're going to choose is one variable, or var. I'm going to show you right now. Number 2, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to input our data. Inputting data uses the data button. And then number 3, we're going to generate our stats. By hitting stat var. Can you see that? Rewrite it. Alright, so I'm going to do that right now. Variable. Variance. Depending on context. Okay. It's like I wish. That's a little bit better. Yeah? Are we good? Just the closer I get it to that light, the more you can't see it. How's that for you guys? So I don't think it's going to work if I turn the light off. Now you're really not going to be able to see it. I can try the skylight. I'm trying to turn it off. Nope, that's not going to, so the light's got to be on. You mean with the light off, try and zoom it in and let it focus? Is that better? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to hit my what's stat mode. So I'm going to hit second and then data. See, it asks me which one I want, 1 or 2. I want 1 because we're only dealing with one set of values. So instead of dealing with like ages and heights, we're only dealing with ages. Right now we're just dealing with scores. So that's all we're going to put in. That's all we're ever going to use is just 1. So I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to go to my data so I can input the data. So I'm going to hit data, and it's going to ask me for the first piece of data. The first piece of data is 1. That's the first score. If you put enter, it's not going to do anything, right? So you just need to go down. See how there's little arrows on the side here? You can't really see them, but there's arrows. That's telling you need to scroll up and down. Some of you have a different calculator. It will be a complete list. What I'm doing right now is I'm making a list in the calculator. It's generating a list. Okay, Princess, put it away. Second, I need to know how many ones I have. My suggestion, keep them all frequency 1. Even if you have 5 ones, enter all of them in, just so you're sure that you're doing it correctly. Okay? That's what I would do. Second value was a 2. That was my second score. Hold on. Third value was a 3. That's the score, number 3. And the fourth value was a score of a 4. Now I'm going to go to my fifth value and make sure it's blank. Okay? Next, I'm going to generate my stats. So generating stats is by hitting stat var right here. So now it tells me the number I have. That's important. You need to make sure you only have 4 pieces of data in there. All right? Next, I can scroll over and that gives me my x-bar or my mean, which is 2.5. And next, if I scroll over one more time, that's going to give my standard deviation, which is 1.29. Okay? Usually will ask you, the question will be what, to the nearest tenth, to the nearest hundredth, right? Okay. So at this time, what I need you to do is I need everybody to try and get 1.29 on their calculator. I'm going to go around and answer questions, and I'm also going to pass out your practice, and that way you've got plenty. Right now we've got 20 minutes, like I promised, right? 20 minutes for you to do the front side of that worksheet and ask questions while you're here. You're going to be responsible on Friday. I'm also going to pass out your sheet to put your packet together. So you're responsible for the one we did last Friday, which is probability distribution, and then the front side of this worksheet. So just 2. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause it. That video is okay, right? 15 minutes? We're good? Don't need anything else in the video? I'll pause it just in case. Okay, so when doing your calculations on your practice, for day 3, standard deviation and normal distributions, I want to see a dot plot, calculate the mean. You should probably show me how you calculated the mean, right? You should probably put the numbers together, divide by. Not as important or crucial though, this one I want to see. This is how you calculate standard deviation, and then you can go ahead and you can tell me what it is. You don't have to do all the separate calculations. Put it in a calculator to find it. We're good? Okay.